Good evening. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory, and this is the First Alert streaming show at 9 p.m. I want to start with the tornado that we now have confirmed from Sunday night. So we had a wild ride from Sunday to Monday, right? We had this strong cold front move through. Sunday, we had record-setting warmth, the highs in the low 70s on Sunday. Then that cold front moved through, brought us a line of severe storms Sunday evening. Then behind that, we had this sharp drop in our temperatures. We went from the 70s Sunday to the 20s on Monday. And as that line of storms moved through the tri-state, we now know it produced at least one tornado. We had 5 tornado warnings issued in the tri-state that night, but this is as the National Weather Service has been gathering information about damage and doing surveys. This is the only one that we have confirmed that there was actually a tornado on the ground. So this was an EF1 tornado with peak winds of 100 miles an hour. It was on the ground for about 4.5 miles and it was 50 yards wide. I'm going to take this fold for just a second so you can, there we go, so that you can read along with me here if you want to take a closer look at the track for this tornado. It was 50 yards wide, which for tornadoes is fairly narrow. The National Weather Service had this to say: a narrow tornado began about 5 miles west of Hobstadt. So again, we're looking in southern Gibson County here. This is just east of Cynthiana, just north of I-64, just north of the interstate there, along Highway 68, west of Hobstadt. About 5 miles west of Hobstadt is where it started, and then it moved right along Highway 68 there, tracking almost due east, and then it ended just on the south side of Hobstadt there. Along this path, several barns were damaged. One lost most of its roof, and section of another barn was completely destroyed. Thankfully, there wasn't any major damage to homes. They did lose a few shingles. There were some power lines and trees damaged, but again, no major damage to homes. Everyone should be able to recover there, and thankfully no one was hurt in this, but there was an EF1 tornado confirmed in Gibson County, southern Gibson County, Sunday evening with that line of storms that rolled through. Thankfully, we have much quieter weather across the tri-state today. We had some sun earlier in the day, then clouds rolled in. Now most of those clouds have moved out as well. We still have some clouds mainly across western Kentucky, but we've gotten a bit of a break across much of our region right now. As we go through the rest of the night and into Wednesday morning, it looks like it will be mostly clear with just a few clouds, but any sunshine we get on Wednesday will probably happen early in the day. So first thing Wednesday morning, we may have some sunshine, then it kind of clouds back up pretty quickly as we go through the day. By Wednesday afternoon, it will be mostly cloudy again, but I still think we're going to be dry. Then Wednesday night, a cold front is going to move through the tri-state, a very weak one though, nothing like the cold front we saw on Sunday. This is only going to drop our temperatures a couple degrees. It's probably not going to bring us any rain at all, maybe just a few clouds. There is a chance of some showers. If you look way up in the far corner there, you can just barely see off to our northeast. There is a chance of some rain and snow showers, but all of that is going to stay northeast of the tri-state, so we should stay dry here. You can see though that kind of dividing line between some warmer air flowing in from the south and some cooler air flowing in from the north. That cold front is going to pass through the tri-state right through the middle of the night, Wednesday night, right as we're ringing in the new year. A cold front is going to pass through our region, but like I said, its impact will be minimal. We'll really just see a few clouds and a slight shift in our wind direction, and that's going to be about it. Now, the cold front that moved through on Sunday had a huge impact on our temperatures. Like I said, we went from 70s to 20s. Today, we warmed up just a little bit. We topped out at 32 earlier this afternoon in Evansville, and our temperatures haven't fallen very far since then. We're sitting in the upper 20s to low 30s. It's 30 degrees even in Evansville, Newburgh, and Henderson. I still think we'll drop a couple degrees more before the night is over, though. When you factor in the wind, it does feel a bit colder than it actually is. Wind chills anywhere from the upper teens to low to mid 20s in most locations. Owensboro feeling like 19 right now. In Evansville, the wind chill is sitting at 22. Our wind direction has started to shift though. Yesterday we had that cold air just flowing in from the northwest, but today it's kind of shifted around, kind of due west, and then now it's shifted even more, and we're starting to see more of a southwesterly breeze. So that's pulling warmer air into the tri-state. So I still think we'll drop a few degrees, but we'll probably only bottom out in the mid to upper 20s tonight, which when your highs were in the lower 30s, that's not very far to fall through the overnight hours, but that's actually pretty close to where our low temperatures should be this time of year. And then tomorrow, some sunshine possible early. It clouds up pretty quick, but even though we're not going to have a lot of sunshine tomorrow, we are going to have that southwesterly breeze, again pulling warmer air into the tri-state. So even though we won't have much sunshine tomorrow, I think it'll still be a little warmer than today with highs in the low 40s. Wednesday night then, our temperatures will drop back into the 30s. By midnight Wednesday night, as we're ringing in the new year, I think we'll be sitting in the low to mid 30s. So dress appropriately if you're going to be out celebrating. And by the end of the night, we'll probably bottom out somewhere in the mid to upper 20s. Then New Year's Day. Again, we'll be behind that cold front, but it's a weak cold front. So we go from the lower 40s on Wednesday to the upper 30s on Thursday. Not much of a cold front, but a slight dip in our temperatures there on Thursday with partly cloudy skies. Friday, a low pressure system is going to be moving through the deep south. I think the rain from that is going to stay south of the tri-state. I just don't think it's going to make it this far, but the clouds will reach this far. So we probably won't see any rain, but it will be cloudy on Friday. Despite that, our wind direction shifts. Again, it's all about that wind direction, folks. And so we warm back up just a bit. Highs will be in the low to mid 40s then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I think we could warm up even more with highs climbing into the lower 50s to start next week. Let's take a check-in on the comments real quick. Laura, watching from Dawson Springs, always appreciate you. Good evening, Jeanette, Suzanne, Jeff, Cheyenne. William saying he's been looking at the GFS 9 days out. Yeah, and it gets a little crazy. The GFS is one of our weather models. For those of you who are regular watchers of the show, you're probably familiar with that. Kind of our two longer range models that you usually see us use are the GFS or the Euro. But there's a reason that we tend to only show the forecast 7 days out. And even toward the end of this, things start to get a little iffy. There can be a lot of changes that many days out. When you start looking at something that's 9 or 10 days out, or if you see someone posting on social media just a screenshot of a model that's a week and a half to 2 weeks away, just know they tend to show some pretty wild things that an experienced meteorologist knows is probably not going to happen. So yeah, he's just saying that the GFS is showing some wild stuff as we get into next week, but I would let it get a little closer before we start taking any real stock in that. Let's see. Zach asking about rain and thunderstorm chances for next week. I'm really not seeing much coming down the pipe anytime soon. You'll notice through the whole next 7 days, I've got no chance of rain, snow, or thunderstorms of any kind. Like I said, I think the rain on Wednesday night's going to stay to our northeast. The rain on Friday is going to stay to our south. And I'm just not convinced we'll see any rain even into the start of next week. And I'm certainly not anticipating any kind of significant widespread rain or thunderstorms of any kind at this point. Good evening, Mary. Angie is ready for spring. You know, it felt like spring last week, but that to me was a little weird to have spring-like temperatures at Christmas. So we're kind of getting back to where we should be now. Thank goodness for a little warmth this weekend. Yes, we did all kind of thaw out over the weekend, but we're back in winter now. Good evening, Paula. And you're welcome, Terrence O'Connell chiming in there. So I've been mentioning getting back to normal. We really are, and that's something I'm excited about because our temperatures have been almost exhausting recently. It has been a roller coaster ride to go from the teens to the 50s to the 70s to back to the 20s. Moving forward, as we close out 2025 and head into 2026, it's just going to be normal. Nice and normal and quiet. The kind of weather that we have earned, right? So moving forward, tomorrow Thursday, Friday, even into the weekend, temperatures really sitting in the range of what would be considered average for this time of year. This is right where our temperature should be as we close out December and head into January. We get just a few degrees, 5-10 degrees warmer than kind of that normal range as we get into early next week. I'll be curious to see if that hangs around. When you look at the extended outlook then, from Wednesday, January 7th up through the 13th, it does show that the general trend is slightly above average temperatures. Nothing like the 60s and 70s we saw this past week, but again, maybe seeing more of those upper 40s into the 50s there. And the precipitation outlook does show above average precipitation. So we could have some rain in the forecast as we get later into next week. But again, at this point, we're talking about something that's a week and a half to even 2 weeks away. That far out, we can give kind of a general trend. It's looking more active, wetter, warmer, drier, cooler, kind of as a general trend, but we can't give an exact forecast. I couldn't tell you that on any of those specific days we would definitely have widespread rain or something like that. There's just too much uncertainty that many days out. But I will say that as we get into kind of the second week of 2026, it does seem like the warmer weather, the 50s and whatnot, will probably stick with us, but we may start to see more active weather as well, see some rain coming back into the forecast. Here's a look at these wild temperatures I was talking about, by the way. I am just fascinated by how this December has played out because the first half of the month was very cold. Lots of 30s. On the 14th, we only had a high of 15 degrees, but then just a few days later, look at the swarming trend, 15, then we go to 35, 47, 58 then. By Wednesday, we've got temperatures in the upper 50s, and that was kind of the start of what was then a trend of warmer weather. From Tuesday to Sunday of this past week, almost a whole week, in the end of December, with highs in the 60s and 70s for nearly a full week straight. 70 on Sunday was a record. The previous record was 68 degrees. And for those of you who are looking at Monday going 39, I don't remember it being that warm yesterday. It wasn't, not during the day anyway. 39 was the temperature at midnight as that cold front had just moved through and that colder air was still moving in. As that cold air moved in, temperatures continued to drop down into the 20s. Then we stayed in the 20s all day long yesterday, but technically at midnight it was 39, so that's the official high for the day as it runs, from midnight to midnight. Today's high, by the way, was 32. All of those really warm days and all those really cold days have kind of evened each other out. What's interesting is with such wild temperatures, we really didn't have that much precipitation. We didn't get a lot of heavy rain or snow. We've had just a few days, the 18th and again Sunday, where we had rain and thunderstorms, and we've had a few light rain and snow showers in the mix as well. But overall, we're running almost 2 inches short of the average precipitation for the month of December. As for our temperature, this is what I find fascinating. The average temperature for the month is only off by half a degree. So if you were to look at just the average temperature for the month of December, it looks like we had a pretty normal month, but that's not the case at all. We had a very cold start and a very warm end that kind of canceled each other out. Looking at the year as a whole, for those of you who are curious how this year stacked up as far as severe weather is concerned, I did go back and look at how many warnings we covered this year. In 2025, there were 54 tornado warnings in the tri-state. April, obviously the standout month there. 30 of those 54 tornado warnings happened in April. 5 of them happened just on Sunday. That was our first tornado warnings since June. So we had all kind of fallen a little complacent there, right? We had a very active spring. Then once we got into the summer and fall months, really we hadn't had a whole lot of severe weather until this past Sunday. Breaking it down by month, and you may be looking at these numbers thinking this math is not mathing for me. Some of these tornado warnings covered more than one county. So this is how many times your county was included in one of those 54 warnings. Gibson County coming out the winner or the loser, depending on how you want to describe that. Gibson County had the most tornado warnings of any county in the tri-state this year. You were under a tornado warning 15 times in Gibson County this year. Hopkins County would be next. They were under a tornado warning 10 times, and we had 8 tornado warnings in Vanderburgh County and 6 in Davis. Looking at severe thunderstorm warnings, obviously there's going to be more of those. We had 209 severe thunderstorm warnings in the tri-state this year. March, the standout month for severe thunderstorms, we had 72 severe thunderstorm warnings in March, 44 in May, 38 in April, then 9 just this past Sunday. Once again, Gibson County comes out on top. 40 of those 209 warnings included Gibson County. Pike County would be next with 34. A lot of those probably overlapped, as you would have had a warning that started in Gibson County and continued into Pike County there. Then next up would be Ohio County, which had 31 warnings. Looking at flash flood warnings, because earlier this year flooding was a pretty serious problem. Looking at the month breakdown here, April, the number one month there, we had 19. July, then not a month you think of as having a lot of flooding, but we had 12 flash flood warnings in July, 51 total for the year. And for this one, Vanderburgh County comes out on top. There were 10 flash flood warnings in Vanderburgh County this year. Ohio County would be next with 9. Davis County, by the way, had 4. Now, speaking of floods, we've actually had a lot of rain this year. When you look at the month-by-month breakdown, all of these green bars, those are months where our precipitation was more than average for that month. So we had a little more than 4 inches of rain in January, February, and March. But March is usually a pretty rainy month, so 4.04 inches of rain was still a ½ inch short of what would be considered average for March. April, really the standout month here. We had more than 8 inches of rain in April in Evansville, 8 3/4 of an inch of rain there. That's 3½ inches more than normal for the month of April. May, June, and July all had about 6.5 inches of rain, which is a couple inches more than you would expect for any of those given months. August then, very dry. It's like somebody just turned off the tap. It barely rained the entire month of August. We had just short of 3/4 of an inch of rain the entire month, which is a couple inches short of what you would expect for the month of August. Then we had a few rounds of heavy rain as you got into September and October. Those were not particularly rainy months, but you had just a few thunderstorms in there that put down some heavy amounts of rain, so still wetter than average in September and October. Then we've had a drier end to the year here. Both November and December came up short of their average precipitation. But just for those of you who are curious about those kinds of things, I thought we would do kind of a year-end recap there of how everything has played out. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. Paula, just imparting a little bit of weather folklore here, says that her mom used to say whatever happens the first day of the month, it's going to be like that all month. Well, I don't know that that's necessarily true, because as we just saw in December, halfway through the month we flipped the switch and went from very cold to very warm. But it's always interesting to hear those little bits of weather folklore, different things that people adhere to. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Here's one more look at the 7-day forecast for those of you who are curious. Maybe a little sun tomorrow morning, but mostly cloudy in the afternoon, highs in the low 40s, dipping into the mid to upper 20s. Wednesday night will probably be in the low to maybe mid 30s at midnight when we ring in 2026. For the first day of the new year, partly cloudy, a little cooler, highs in the upper 30s. Cloudy but dry with highs in the mid 40s then on Friday, low to mid 40s with partly cloudy skies over the weekend, partly cloudy and a little warmer then to start next week with highs in the lower 50s Monday and Tuesday. All right. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. There is no 14 News at 10 over the air on NBC tonight, by the way. NBA game is on. They're going to still be on at 10 o'clock tonight, so it's going to go straight from that into the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So we're not going to have a 10 o'clock news on the air, But great news, we are still going to have a newscast just on our streaming platforms. So if you have the 14 News app, you can watch us, stream us there, and we're still going to do a 10 o'clock newscast. So if you want to catch your headlines before you go to bed tonight, and an updated look at the forecast, and we've got sports, all the stuff that you would normally get in 14 News at 10. We're still going to have it, but you cannot catch us over the air on NBC. It's streaming only tonight due to that NBA game. So I hope you will tune in on our app and Roku, Amazon Fire, however you would normally stream us. I hope you'll join us again tonight at 10, and have a great rest of your night.